So this is something that's always struck me as strange that more people don't think about. I went to like an alternative high school out in Bellingham, Washington. So like a really hippy dippy kind of place. And everyone was always talking about social issues and how we can make the world a better place. And it was run by these two people from San Francisco, the kind of traditional like beatnik poet guy and his wife, his like much younger, just totally ditzy wife. God bless her, but she was just kind of brainless. There's this pretty cool plane going overhead. Whoa, check that out. Huh. Floater plane. Anyway, so I went to this high school and we were always talking about social issues. And it was just one day that this woman was talking about, like, I don't know what it was, right? Just how we should all care about, the plankton in the ocean or something like that. And I realized, I'll never forget when this thought occurred to me. I really didn't, understand it at the time. I was like 16, 17, didn't really, I didn't like, it was what they call inchoate. It was an inchoate thought. It wasn't fully formed. But I realized that a lot of people just do good things or try to take the right position on subjects just to make themselves feel better. And so that occurred to me. But then it occurred to me, how does that actually help people? Like, how does that actually do any good? Aren't you just making yourself feel good, possibly at the expense of the people or the issue that you're thinking about? So what is true altruism? Altruism being the desire to help other people, being giving or being a martyr in some way, right? What is true altruism? Is it just thinking good thoughts about people, just wanting to do good? No, you have to be doing it. There's like some kind of parable, I forget exactly, but do good works with your right hand and forget what you're doing with your left or something. It's not quite right, but basically doing true good is you don't expect any reward. You don't expect anyone to pat you on the back and say what a good person you are. And I just came across this concept again. Attack on Titan is really just one of the most amazing stories ever written, manga or not. And there's a character in that story. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say who it is, but someone who is called out for just trying to do good deeds so that people will look on you better, right? So that people will think you're the kind of person who does good deeds. And that's really not actually good. That's just another form of selfishness. So a person who is perfectly selfish and doesn't ever want people to think that they're not selfish, maybe that person is actually a better person than someone who is always trying to get people to think they're so good. If you're trying to just get people to think you're good, you're not only selfish, but you're also a liar. You're not only a self-serving individual, but you're lying about it in order to try to make people think you're not. So that doesn't mean you should be a bad person necessarily. I mean, you shouldn't try to do evil on purpose because that's just all people are. They're selfish. But what I realized on that day, and I've just been kind of reflecting on ever since, is that to actually do good in the world, to be truly altruistic, is very, very difficult because you have to completely separate your ego from it. You can't be thinking at all about what people will think of you. You can't be trying to position yourself as a martyr or a god or anything like that. And that's part of what drew me to Christianity, is because this was the way that Jesus acted and he taught. It was never with any hope of reward. And it's also what he taught to his followers, that you shouldn't do good deeds hoping for a reward. And I think that thing I was saying, do with one hand and do something else with the other hand. Man, I can't remember the saying to save my life. But it was something that I'm pretty sure Jesus said, but I'm a relatively new Christian. I haven't studied the Bible as much as I should. I forget a lot of things. Watch my other videos if you want to know why I forget so much. But yeah, the main thesis of this video, and I'll probably keep it a little bit shorter, is just the fact that so many people who act like they're doing good or want to be seen as doing good really aren't doing any good at all. That true altruism can only occur when you're not thinking of reward, when you're not thinking about social standing, when you're not thinking about what people will think of you. And the main motivation people have for being altruistic most of the time does appear to be social standing or being rewarded or something like that. Just being seen as someone who's altruistic. But if that is your goal in doing good deeds, then you're not really doing any good. You're not actually being altruistic at all. You're being a coward, you're being self-centered, and you're also being a liar. Because people who, at least, they know that they're selfish, at least they're not lying to themselves. So I think that true good can only come when you're following God and not your own self, when you're doing God's will instead of your own will. And so I really think the only way to be altruistic is to abnegate your own ego as much as possible, give up your own self, and give in to God's will for you and what God wants from you, because God's will always lead to good. And I don't think that human will ever could. I think that we are totally depraved in our sin, and that no matter how much we try to eliminate ego, anything that we do ourselves, that we try to do, anything we strive to do will always be tainted with ego and sin. And there is no true altruism in that. There is no true altruism in anything that you want to do. You just have to give yourself up to God's will and live entirely in His hand. And then you might be able to do some good, but you might not even notice it, because people usually, they do good things, and the way they know they've done good is by people praising them or rewarding them. But that's, again, just a trap of the ego. And many times doing good is not rewarded. In many cases, you're punished for doing good. And that might be the case. That might be the case. So how do you know when you're doing good deeds or not? I really think that the only way you can know is just by God telling you, just by being connected with God, being open in your spirit, and then you'll have a feeling inside when you have done something good. Society may not recognize you. Society might nail you up on a cross, but God knows what you've done, and God will reward you. And I think that's why in a secular world, and it was a very secular school I went to, the people who ran it weren't Christian at all. And I think in a world like that, I don't know if you can do any actual real good in a secular atheistic world. I don't know if it's possible. And in history, atheism always leads to horrible destruction. Just look at communist Russia, look at our own secular world today. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the people who focus the most on virtue and doing good are often the most selfish and horrible people, and they just want you to think that they're not. So be very careful around those kinds of people, and do a thorough self-diagnostic to see if you are one of those kinds of people. And in the end, I think it's better to be honest, even if you're selfish, than it is to curry false altruism, to pretend that you're doing good just so that the world rewards you or favors you. And I think the only way to really do good in the world is to do God's will.